Welcome, students, to this explainer. Today, we are going to completely reframe our understanding of virtue, and we're doing it through the profound lens of the Thomistic philosopher Josef Pieper. If you've ever felt like being a good person is just this exhausting, endless exercise in sheer willpower, well, get ready. Pieper's philosophy is about to turn that entirely upside down. We are going to look at virtue not as a forceful action, but rather as a way of seeing. So, here is our syllabus for today's journey. First, virtue is seeing reality. Second, faith, trusting the witness. Third, hope and the not yet. Fourth, the trap of acedia. Fifth, love, affirming true existence. And finally, number 6, the ultimate endpoint, the attitude. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Virtue is seeing reality, moving beyond sheer willpower.
We really need to dismantle a deeply ingrained modern misconception right off the bat. We so often think of the virtuous person as someone just gritting their teeth, right? Someone white-knuckling their willpower and forcing control over themselves to do the right thing. But Pieper argues that true virtue actually begins with receptivity. It starts with seeing reality exactly as it is. It's a genuine openness to both the natural world and the supernatural. Think about it. You literally cannot act rightly if you don't first perceive rightly.
This is exactly why Pieper calls prudence the mother of all virtues. Moral failure? Well, a lot of the time, it's actually just a perceptual failure. It's a stubborn refusal to see what's true. To actually be prudent, we have to practice a deep, intentional silence. We have to quiet down so we can receive reality, rather than forcefully projecting our own selfish desires onto the world around us. We have to cultivate that quiet openness to the supernatural. Moving on to section 2. Faith, trusting the witness, belief as an act of relational trust. Let's look at how faith builds directly on this foundation of receiving reality. Think about the due diligence you do before trusting a friend's recommendation for, say, a new restaurant or a travel destination. You agree with facts you haven't personally seen, purely because you trust the person who actually experienced them. Faith is taking that exact same, everyday relational trust and extending it to the divine witness. You believe the what because you intimately trust the who. And honestly, when we truly open ourselves to that divine witness, it can be pretty unsettling. C.S. Lewis hit the nail on the head with this quote: "It is always shocking to meet life where we thought we were alone." It perfectly captures the startling, totally unpredictable reality of engaging with a living, speaking God. Faith isn't just about adopting some cozy, safe set of abstract principles. It is a vibrant, shocking encounter with a living person who is approaching us at infinite speed. That brings us to section 3. Hope and the not yet, the defining virtue of the pilgrim. So if faith is our guide, showing us the reality of God, then hope is the necessary tension of the road we're walking to reach Him. Pieper defines our fundamental human condition as homo viator, literally man as a pilgrim. We are on the way to beatitude. Right now, we are living in the uncomfortable but totally necessary tension of the not yet. We were created from nothingness, yet we're called to eternal happiness. To be human is to be fundamentally incomplete. We are walking a path toward fulfillment. Now, it is incredibly easy to confuse hope with optimism, but they are completely different. Optimism is just a sunny disposition, right? It's a psychological mood where you just assume things will magically work out. Hope is a theological virtue. It's like waiting patiently for a struggling loved one to grow and heal over years. True hope is a steadfast orientation that is deeply rooted in grace. It anchors us to supernatural happiness, even when our present circumstances look incredibly bleak. Section 4. The trap of acedia, the perversions of hope. This pilgrimage of ours has some very deep ditches on both sides of the road, presumption and despair. Both of these actually destroy our pilgrim status because they completely eliminate the tension of the journey. Presumption is a kind of spiritual infantility. It's demanding the reward right now and assuming salvation is guaranteed without any effort. Despair, on the flip side, is a sort of spiritual senility, just giving up and actively deciding that fulfillment is completely impossible. Both of these rip you right out of the not yet of true hope. So what's the actual root of that despair? You might think it comes from sad circumstances or just a really bad run of luck. But Pieper traces it back to a very specific and highly tragic spiritual root. That root is acedia. Now, acedia is not just laziness. It's not just sitting on the couch all day binge-watching TV. It is a profound, deep sadness at the divine good in man. It's this self-seeking wish that God would just leave us in peace instead of calling us to greatness. Ultimately, acedia is a tragic refusal to accept the nobility of being loved by God. Because let's face it, accepting that infinite love means accepting the immense responsibility of becoming who we were actually made to be. And when we reject that nobility of being God's children, this demonic constellation takes root in our lives. We get this uneasy restlessness. Think of mindless, constant doom scrolling, or never being able to sit in silence. We become completely numb to salvation. And eventually, this tragic sadness morphs into outright malice and rancor against anything that reminds us of the divine. Let's move to Section 5, Love, Affirming True Existence. This is the engine of the journey. What actually rescues us from the despair of acedia? What drives the pilgrim forward? Love. At its absolute core, love isn't about conditional approval. It's not saying, I love you because you're clever or because you're beautiful. It is the profound, unconditional affirmation a parent gives a child. It is good that you exist. When we look at someone and love them this way, we are quite literally continuing God's creative act in the world. Think about what this looks like in the trenches of real life. In our everyday relationships, like in a marriage, true love doesn't just blindly excuse bad behavior. Excusing is cheap. It just ignores human agency and sweeps failure under the rug. True love forgives. Forgiveness recognizes the harsh reality of the failure, takes the dignity of the other person absolutely seriously, but then fiercely chooses union and redemption anyway. Throughout history, some thinkers, like Anders Nygren, argue that our natural human desire, our eros, is purely selfish and totally separate from pure Christian agape love. Well, Pieper completely disagrees with that split. He argues that our very natural search for happiness is actually the starting point of all perfection in love. Eros is our natural fuel, and then God's grace perfects and transforms that raw desire into agape. You simply cannot separate our deep, messy human yearning from our ultimate spiritual destination. Which brings us to our final section. Section 6, the ultimate endpoint, beatitude, the destination of Homo Viator. Where is this entire pilgrimage heading? This whole journey of receptivity, faith, hope, and love? It all culminates in one thing, beatitude. The destination of the pilgrim isn't just to be a good person in some boring moralistic sense. The endpoint is the joyful, overwhelming contemplation of God. It is resting securely in eternal union with the highest good. That is the destination everything else is pointing toward. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you with one final challenging thought. Your virtues aren't just some rigid list of rules to follow. They are the literal tools for your pilgrimage. So how are you going to step into your role as a pilgrim today? How will you look at the people in your everyday life, your friends, your spouse, your children, and truly, deeply affirm their existence, declaring to them, it is good that you exist? Keep your eyes open to reality and keep walking the path.